Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, everybody. I'm Preacher Moss, host of the SOS and Shout Out Show. Here we are, Wednesday. I want to say day after the day, if you will. As many of you know, if you haven't been living under the rock, we had our presidential election here. The results are in, and Donald Trump will be the next president of the United States. Got a lot to talk about on this. Spending a little time just trying to have an overview. A lot of things really came to mind, and I'm going to spout them out. There's winners, there's losers, there's people that gloat, there are people who are genuinely, understandably hurt by the outcome of the election. But the thing that really spoke to me, that really resonates with me, is, for lack of a better word, this is the America they've been trying to give you for the last 50 years. The last 50, this is the America they wanted to give you. Some years ago, you had the Taliban in Afghanistan, and everybody was down on the Taliban because the vision of Afghanistan at that point in time, it was based upon a blind cleric. And his vision, his last time he had sight was when he was young. So he wanted everybody to look like that vision. In the United States, with the election of Donald Trump, and I may be wrong, I may be right, but it is clear that people wanted to go back. The thing that won this election has to be, number one, nostalgia, and number two, the fact that people don't have memory. That's a dangerous thing, that when you have nostalgia, but at the same time you have amnesia about the things that are going on around you. And it created a perfect storm. And here we are today. And let's be honest, I'm gonna be very honest. Understanding the mountain that Kamala Harris had to climb, uh, I'm not surprised she didn't win. I said that. I'm not surprised she didn't win. And one of the benchmarks of when somebody is in that position is the fact that everybody has a pile-on effect. Everybody wants the person who could potentially lose to lose. And the energy and the flow that went towards that woman, I'm just talking as a black man. The energy and flow that went to that towards that woman as a black woman, uh, I'm talking about a black woman of note who has been in the black community for a long time. You can state what you think and what you feel about her being in the black community. I'm not going to get into that. But I'm talking about for young brothers who now celebrate that she is lost, celebrate that somehow, some way that they had a hand, if you will, in making her lose. I'm like, you don't understand politics. This is the exact reason why you're never going to get anything out of this particular administration coming up. You don't understand politics. You understand emotion and you understand child emotions. And child emotions is the reason why this woman did not come close. She didn't win. Now, let me give you guys some things to think about before we go to the break. Number one, 2016, you had a white woman, a white Jewish woman, who went against Donald Trump, and she didn't win. So now 2024, you had a black woman of mixed heritage going against Donald Trump, and she doesn't win. What's the common denominator here? Biden won. But the thing was, Biden was number one white, and number two, he was a man. And that, brothers and sisters, is the crux of the talk of the day, which is this Trump's America. Now what? We're going to talk about the now what momentarily. Don't go anywhere. This is going to be one of those shows, might run a couple minutes long. So, Tom, I'm just letting you know up front. We might run a couple minutes long because I got a lot of stuff to get off my chest. We'll be right back here on the Shadow Show. I'm Preacher Moss. Don't you move. All right, we're back. Let me get into my shout out show family real quick. I'll give a shout out to my little sister, Ree. How you doing? Peace and blessings to you. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hope that you and your family are doing well. My main man, Altaf Rashid, better known as Mr. 6 o'clock, straight up, straight down, our Canadian envoy to the show. What's going on, beloved? Wa alaikum assalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thanks so much for joining us. And of course, Adam Khan, my Canadian partner in crime. How you doing, beloved? Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you so much for joining in. And little brother, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, beloved. Good to see you in the house. You know we're gonna talk about this on Sunday. But right now we're just gonna get some things off my chest. And I'm gonna tell people, I haven't really figured out all the nuance to make it sound pretty. So I'm just gonna give it to you the way it came to me. All right. And we also want to give a shout out to our illustrious exec producer, Sister Satana Wilfield, always joining us here. She makes the show go, brothers and sisters. She makes the show go. Sister Satana, thank you so much. We have some folks out in Instagram land. Is that right? Okay. Okay. We got Sister Satana, Brother Bilal, and his lovely queen, Sister Sonia Dalton. Uh, how you doing? Good to see you. And of course, I'm sorry. Uh, Bari, how you doing, beloved? We got Victor Monelser, Gregor Speaks, and others have joined. Hey, hey, Greg, what's up, brother? From Bashula. Wow, what's going on, man? I remember you, brother. I saw Gregor Speaks. I know you, brother. How you doing, man? I hope you're blessed, man. And I know we're not with Bashula anymore, man, but I hope you're still out doing anything, man. You had a great message. Brother Eric, wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, all the way from South Kakalaki. How's my brother doing? Hope you're doing well. You know, so this is almost like a bad rendition of this election. Wednesday is almost like the ultimate morning after pill. Except you're not talking about birth, you're talking about crime, you're talking about illegitimacy, you're talking about a lot of things that somehow, somewhere have co-opted themselves to be a part of the American fabric. The story that we've been told about democracy somehow is unraveled, and that quilt that had everything is now a blanket or a hood, depending on how you look at it. Let me give you guys who are political novices a little bit of game, okay? Donald Trump won, and by all measures, a lot of people expected him to win. You know why? I'm going to tell you why. Because his story and his whining for the last 9 years, he had that to go all the way up to this election. Kamala Harris had a little over 100 days to pull together a team, pull together a message, pull together volunteers, and it's commendable. She was going uphill. And there's also the part that I think we need to understand that this is America. This is America. So for the Latinos that voted for Trump, that believe they're going to get the job, okay. But again, it is that amnesia. This is the same guy that says he's going to build a wall to keep you out, and it's going to be mass immigrations. We'll see. Maybe he was just selling wolf tickets. I don't know. But indicates he's not selling wolf tickets. Brothers and sisters, you have a we have a very serious problem with different levels to it. Number one, there is such a thing called Project 2025. Okay? And that project is in effect. The mistake was thinking that Bush or that Trump would get into office and then they would do these things. No, they've been doing those things since the last election. Game recognizes game. I'm not saying anything about the Democrats who want to stoop, but there are those people who still hold to the truth that America is the standard that we have not reached since at least since I've been born. And that somehow, someplace, we're going to stand up and we're going to be right people. We're going to be great citizens. Well, here's the deal. In this country, in this foundation has not been built on people who want to be good citizens. They're people who want to be gangsters, people who are oppressors, that oppress you about your race, they oppress you about your religion, because that is the nature of the beast that we've been dealing with for years. The sad part about it is somehow, some way, we keep thinking that the nature of the beast is going to change. That somehow, some way, intervention is going to dive into their hearts and they're going to see the light and they're going to have this come to Jesus moment. Oh my gosh, I want to change my ways. No, they don't change their ways. A killer doesn't stop killing. A killer look for opportunity to kill. You understand? Just like an addict doesn't stop smoking. An addict looks for opportunities to smoke. They're not going to stop. They look for opportunities to smoke. In this election, in the words of my one of my favorite groups, Houdini, this election, if the theme music was out there, it would be the freaks come out at night, or the freaks come out, the freaks come out on election day. Because you have a couple of scenarios that are not going to be talked about. Number one, let me express my deep um, disappointment with the Muslim community. And I'm going to tell you, in this community, that there are people. Some of them are religious clerics, some of them are mayors, some of them are whatever. But a hoe is a hoe. And don't think that your hoe is different because you're a Muslim. It's the same as a Democratic hoe and a Republican hoe. But the Islamic hoe, the Muslim hoe, is different because you know better, because you got a foundation. And I sat and watched people hold themselves out for these particular positions. You're not even at the table. You have people celebrating that they won. You are not even in the game. And then you run around believing that somehow you had course, you changed the course of the election. You're a fool. You're an idiot. You have not changed the course of the election. All you have done is raise the height and the volume of your own delusion. What I want to see from everybody, here's my challenge. I want to see from everybody who made Palestine a central issue in this election. That's your business. That's your prerogative. I commend you. I want you to keep that same energy for the next 4 years. Because all you did this year was take it from October to October 7, 2023, up to yesterday. I want to see what kind of progress that you're really going to make now that you don't have anybody to kick. The one person that might have listened to you is now not there. And now you got somebody who's not. Have you forgotten when Trump was in office? That there was not an iftar for 4 years? That no Muslims graced the White House for 4 years. Always the person that gives people benefit of the doubt. But as I told one of my friends, I'd take a bullet for you, but damn it, not if you're holding a gun. And I'm going to say this, and I hope I say it clearly and with the intent that it's meant to say. Last week I said the Muslim community got played. We got played. The game now, they had a thing out there that's going around with MAGA, make America great again, folks, and it was the replacement theory. They said that Latinos and blacks were replacing jobs that whites had. And I was watching a show yesterday. Uh, Great shows on HBO. Old show, Boardwalk Empire. And there's a scene where there's a Klansman and boy in the Atlantic City talking about that. And guess what he's talking about? The same thing that these folks were talking about. Of course, this was, a fictionalized thing, but I'm like, this is what happens for real. And we have not learned that when the wolf smiles and bares his teeth, that either you run or you kill the wolf. You run or you arm yourself against the wolf. You run and you go get help against the wolf. We have not learned it as a community. Let me tell y'all something. When Obama ran for office, he sought out black leaders. He sought out black leaders. He looked for their support. He looked for their support. He looked for their wisdom. You know, um, in this election cycle, I don't think anybody reached out to the NOI. I feel fairly certain nobody reached out to the NOI. They were extremely quiet. Now, I don't want to say they were quiet. It's just that people know not to put a microphone in their face. So I'm going to bring up a conversation that I had with the brother's deceased now, but Dr. Khalil Muhammad, who at the time was the spokesman for the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, and I attended an event at University of Wisconsin Milwaukee. He was speaking there. Now, the significance of it is he had given a speech at, I think it was Kearney State College. I can't remember, someplace up in Jersey. I mean, whew, I think he called the Pope a faggot. I mean, he called a whole lot of stuff. And did I say faggot? I meant to say sissy, but he said faggot. Okay. Um, and in his way, he called out about pedophilia in the church that nobody was talking about. And when I met him, I asked him. I said, "Well, I was like, I agree with a lot of what you're saying." And I said, he said, "What do you think?" And now, I'm a little guy. Well, I said, it's a great message, but sometimes it needs nuance. And he said something I remember my entire life. He said, nuance comes sometimes at the sacrifice of urgency. And he said, our people don't understand nuance. We understand urgency. And so as we have this election cycle, a lot of you think the election is over. No, 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 no. The cycle is beginning. You know, I was looking on my phone and there was a note from Care. And I'm cool with Care. Love those guys, what they do. Brother Nihad, big shout out, Brother Edwin. But they sent out a note. And I had a problem with the note because in essence, they said that, the Democrats should learn not to take the Muslims' vote for granted and learn from Kamala Harris's loss. And I'm like, dude, you ain't on that level. You're legitimately not on that level. Let me tell you something, brothers and sisters. It's time to back me up on this. Um, how many people actually get to the level to run for president? Think about it. How many people actually get to run? How many people in their lifetime will get to that level? We're not even talking about a congressman or a senator, president. And if you want to understand what I'm talking about, it's Donald Trump and it's Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris was a politician. And you can talk about her effectiveness and her record and all that. She's a politician. Donald Trump usurped the whole political stratosphere, the whole political landscape. He never had a public office. He was never a public servant. I mean, he corrupt businessman, all these type of things. And he climbed over. And you know how he was able to do it, brothers and sisters? Because he realized in a space that the GOP wasn't speaking to the lost person, the lowest common denominator of the Republican Party, the poor person, the person in West Virginia who got a train track runs through the middle of Montgomery, West Virginia. Train track runs through the middle of the town. That's how they separated, and they forgot that. And he fed on their desperation. He fed on the fact that they felt like they were not seen, they weren't heard. They were definitely underclassed, but it gave them a gravitas to have grievances. And so what's going to happen now is you're going to have a lot of grievances. You heard them throughout the election. And, you can say whatever you want about Trump, which is a lot of things, but he's true to who he is. If you think he's a liar, if you think he's a philanderer, if you think he's an adulterer, he's true to who he is. And it's left for us to somehow surmise how he should change. And he never changed. He never changed. In the words of Frank Sinatra, he did it his way. So let me get to the thing that really, really maybe we all need to talk about. And if anybody has anything in the comment section, feel free. Feel free. I don't want to take up the whole thing. I know people have something to say. If you feel it, just throw it in. Oh, okay. Sister Mani, how you doing? Uh, Malik, A1 Shah Ali. Okay, we've got some people in Instagram, IG Live. The title of the show is Trump's America. Now what? Trump's America. Now what? There's two thought processes behind that idea. When you say Assalamu alaikum wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh Malik, when you say Trump's America, there's two spots. There's a 70-year-old man, 78-year-old man who will take you to when things were good for him. I don't trust really, really old white men in places of power because their idea of the good old days, just like the GOP, grand old party, it leads me to a space where it's a dark time for people who are not white, who are not privileged, who are not in the political know, if you will. And that is the thing that worries me because all these people, not all of them, but a lot of the MAGA people, they showed the statistics on TV. That a lot of Trump supporters are uneducated. When you say uneducated, it means where are you getting your information from? If you're getting your information from somebody who knows you're uneducated and they don't enlighten you, that's a dangerous thing. And over a period of time, it creates almost like a resistance, if you will. Meaning that you become immune to the truth. Like if you take a lot of medicine, all of a sudden the medicine doesn't work like it used to because your body rejects it. And I want to say that the mindscape of a lot of America has rejected a lot of things. And the political players, brothers and sisters, they play on all of us. They play us against one another. The Democratic Party will never be the same. And let me say that the Republican Party will never be the same because they allowed themselves to be played. One fought, and another one sold their soul to the devil. Literally sold their soul to the devil. And the thing that I think is even more important is that it was visual. If you think, brothers and sisters, that you saw a lot of stuff going on in places like Gaza, now Lebanon and Iran, boy, wait till they fire up the troops on this one. Because now you get ready to see the America that they've been trying to give to you for the last 50 years. I'm 57 years old. 57 years old. I can remember watching TV about what? Palestine and how the people were treated. This is not when you had 24-hour news cycles, brothers and sisters. It was ABC, NBC, CBS, and you got something on the UHF channel, something like that. But what I'm pointing out is what you saw was a primer. At this very moment, Prosecutor Jack Smith, who's bringing all the election interference stuff, he's closing up shop because Trump and his base is going to close the investigation down. A lot of people put in a lot of work. They're going to be closed down just like that. And it's this whole idea, if you will, that somehow it's democracy. It's not democracy, it's hypocrisy. And I think if we are really, I say the now what, start recognizing hypocrisy in our own spaces. The things that we say, the things that we do. You know, I talk about the Muslim community. I love us, but over the years, let's be honest, we've gotten soft. We've gotten jello soft. And what I mean by that is we don't ask the questions because we're afraid of the answers, right? If you began to look at what it is that's been trying to done, they're trying to take us back to the 1950s. I always say that on the show that they're trying to take us back to the 1950s because that's just far enough to remind them where black people couldn't vote. And you didn't have to worry about any other people of color, but black folk couldn't vote because they were the threat. They were the ones that threatened to change the dynamic, even if they couldn't elect who they wanted and get the result. It was the Jesus of a spiritual nurturing engagement that says at least we understand the process. The process may not benefit us, but at least we know the process. And if we can understand the process, at some point in time, the process will benefit us. Two ways. One, engagement of the process, but two, engagement of an alternative process. What we have now is this space. While it's quiet, I don't know how long it's going to be quiet. I don't know how long we're going to have the Affordable Care Act and all these things and Medicare and all these things. And I don't know. I don't know how long it's going to be before somebody goes, hey, you know what? Israel, do what you want to do. Got your back. Why? Because it's been that way anyway. But let's be real careful now. Let's be really, really honest about what we do moving forward. See, there's a lot of people that were doing a lot of chatting and da da da. Well, now that there's no Harris and that there's no Biden, I want you to keep that energy. I want you to really see how 1950 was. Ironically, the Nakba happens in 1948. I'm sorry, but you have the Palestinian crisis starting in 1948. I would talk about 1950. There's some parallels there, some really strong parallels. You draw them, you make your own conclusion. The thing that I want you to speak on, though, is the fact that we are potentially the dumbest country of all the continents. This should be renamed the United States of Third World States. The United States of Third World States. I see states trying to succeed from one another. I'm seeing all kind of things. I'm in a spot where I do forecasts. I'm seeing all kind of things, you know. And what I would like to say is I want to tell people it's gonna be all right. I really do want to tell you it's gonna be all right. But what I'm gonna tell you this is pray. Pray. Because the thing, the now what is you got to be responsible for you. And if you can be strong and be responsible for you, and then take a little bit of that and find other strong, responsible people, then you can prevent, you prevent or present a formidable threat to these people who are around you. You know, the thing about folks who think after the election that they have political capital or they have the political upper hand is that they always overplay their hand. Sorry about that. That's my mom. Oh, she called. So sorry about that. But the thing that I want everybody to know as we close, it's not too late. It's not too late. I believe you have an opportunity to kind of regroup, figure out the mistakes from this election. And I will say this meaningfully. Develop a meaningful political action committee that you can look to put out in terms of your interest and really be able to address and at times put pressure on the politicians that you think is supposed to be serving the best interests of your people. Not what I saw during the election. Okay. And for all the people who think they had a hand in Kamala Harris's downfall, you know, go on with it. Live with it. Go ahead. You can have it. But there's a new reality in the White House. You might not like it. You might not believe it. But you're going to live it for the next 4 years. So listen, before I go, I want to give a shout out to my niece. She's starting a chemotherapy. She's 7 years old. 13 years old. So let's put our duas together for my little niece. And inshallah, she's feeling better. Much love out to the UK. That's a shout out, show brothers and sisters. I will see you when I see you next week, inshallah. Keep the faith. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Shout out, show.